Well, time for the next long video. And you'll see here in the background that I'm in this beautiful hotel in Charleston, South Carolina. And when you're in a big hotel like this, you can't help but wonder about what it was like to be building this hotel. And so last time we talked about the idea of transform. If you recall, the whole idea of this channel is transform and build and pursue. And so with this beautiful background, we're talking about building today. And so what's that all about? We talked about transforming, becoming who you are, always changing to that place to become the person that you've been created to be. And so we want to move to that other phase. That other phase has to do with what issues forth from who you are. Well, building, living, being, day in and day out, the things that we do. We're not just doing them because it's something that we have to do. We hope that we're doing them and issuing forth from who we are, from being. And so that's what we want to think about, the idea of building and all that is involved in that. There's a lot involved. Look at this building and you know that it started with just a big hole in the ground for a foundation, and all of that had to be filled in, and all of that had to be planned, and all of the architectural drawings had to be made. And so really it is in life that we are always building because we're always doing something. And so we want our doing to be purposeful. Yes, building a purposeful business is kind of the center pillar of this channel, the idea of building. And I will take two elements of that today to talk about the idea of importance of people in the building process, and then the importance of focusing and concentrating. Those two elements make up a big part of building or doing. And so let's just start. I'm not going to deal with the list of things that I have that I call the mistakes that I've made, those too manys, those too many twos. We'll deal with that another time. I want to focus on kind of the foundational ideas. And one of the key foundational ideas of building a life is the importance of people that are in our lives, the importance of how we can encourage people and how we can have an impact on people, the thinking about the people that have had an influence on us and how important that is, and then for us to absorb that and embrace that idea so that we can be that to someone else. If we've been encouraged by someone, how can we now encourage someone else? But foundational to all of that is just the idea that we want to see the value that is in people. I mean, people is our life, right? It's how we're made up. It's what happens in life. Aren't too many hermits where they're just out there living somewhere by themselves. You find that from time to time, but by and large, we all want to be living interconnected and connecting with one another. A big part of life. And as we think about this idea, then we want to simply concentrate on the idea that everybody that we run into and everywhere that we go and wherever we are, we can be meeting people and greeting people in order to encourage them. Everyone's going through something. Everybody has issues of life. And most of them are going through them every day because we're all building every day. We're all doing something. And as we're doing something, then things are happening. And if things are happening, problems arise. If problems arise, we have issues in our lives. And so you can be a solution to that for another person if you have this deep idea that people are really, really important. I want to give you just 3 examples that I give in the book about, well, 2 of them I give in the book, I guess, about two or three people that were a big part in how I was able to encourage them. The first one was when the business was new, and we had, I guess we were 2 or 3 years into it. And so a young man came on board that was just fresh out of high school. I was only 2 or 3 years older than he at the time. And he was a hard worker, and I liked the fact that he was a hard worker. And I saw that, and that was encouraging because, you're always looking for people that would be hard workers. But the supervisor that I had over him didn't like him. He didn't see the value in this young high school boy. This fellow was maybe 15 years older than he, and because he didn't like him and didn't think that he had much to offer, then this young fella, Jim, was not able to grow. It was all pretty much because of this Ron's perspective and Ron's dealing with him. And so after 6 or 8 months, Jim came to me and said, he didn't say I've got to get out from under this, but he said, I'd like to go to the next step. And he said, you just sent someone to Virginia and they failed. I'd like to go down into Richmond and do that job down there. I'd like to have that territory. And so I believed in Jim because he was a hard worker. And so I supported him with it. In those days, I had a very simple formula for determining whether or not someone would be good at a job. And this was basically a sales job, but he was going to have to do a lot of other things as well. And so I took Jim with me to Richmond one day, and my little formula was if they could keep up with me, then they could probably do the job. And Jim was right on my heels the whole time. And so he kind of passed the test that day, and I gave him that territory. And he did quite well with it, quite well, to such an extent that there came that time in my business that I've told you about before, where I experienced the bankruptcy, and his business had been going on because I'd set him up kind of like a franchise so that he could operate everything out of that territory. And the idea was that we were going to have a win-win relationship in it, but I wasn't able to manage all of that, and he just kind of went on his own and built his own business there. And I was encouraged by that, and he certainly was. But what I want to share with you is, that bankruptcy came, and his business was going along well, and so I still had sales from my business, and so I was able to move those sales down to him, and he was able to handle all that for me. And so now I didn't have the vehicles to pay for, and I lost the building and all of that, but I had this activity that needed to be done, and he was able to do that for me. And so our relationship began way back then. But then, maybe 15 years later, when I was ready to move on to other things, I had kind of become bored with the business, and he knew that. Then he bought what I had developed, a little sales agency, feeding that business into him. He bought that from me. Now, why did all of that happen? And how have we now, even in these later years, still been friends 50 years? Why is that? Well, maybe it was because I supported him. Maybe it was because I believed in what he could do. Maybe that little bit of encouragement was all he needed, and it seemed to be the case. He did great, and so when we value people, we see the best in them. We see that which we can encourage them to do. We see something that maybe somebody else doesn't see. We want to inspire them. We want them to do well. We want the best to come out of their lives, and that's what we want to do as we come into contact with people, and as we meet people, and as we come into relationship with people. Another one happened somewhere in the course of that, again, before the bankruptcy, and I had bought a dry cleaning plant, and there's a gentleman that had been at the Helping Up mission. He wound up there because of hard times, and then he worked there afterwards after getting his life together. But that was all he was doing at the time. But in talking to this fella, I could see that he was a hard worker. I could see that he had some interest in doing something on his own. It came out in the conversations that we had. And so Dan McLaren really did like the idea of having his own business, but he had no idea what that might be. And so I had a little dry cleaning business that I didn't want. It was part of of a larger business, and so I told him he could buy that building and that dry cleaning business from me, and it was a very small sale, just a couple $1,000s, whatever it might have been, and pay me out over time, and so that worked for Dan. He worked that little business for years. And it took that off of me, yeah, so that was an advantage, so it was win-win. But on the other hand, it gave him something to build his life back up with. And so he was encouraged by that. And so I saw in Dan those things that I felt would be the ingredients for success. And I tried to encourage him the best that I could with that. And final example would be more recently when a young lady from Thailand was here in order to support her two grown children to go to college here. And so she came with them to support them and to be with them until that transition was in place. And so she was working as a seamstress. But she was a really good seamstress. And back in her country, in Thailand, she had businesses of her own, and she had done very, very well. But here, she was just working for someone in order to generate income while she was supporting her children. But she had great skill, and she had a really good mind for business, obviously, because of what she had already done in her previous country. And so, in her case, she didn't need any help to do the business. She knew everything that she needed to do and how to do it. But she just needed a little bit of help because of her language her English was not that great, and she didn't know where to go to get machines and where to do this and how to get this started. And so I was able to give her a little bit of help in doing that, show her where to go, take her to the right place, and get her started. And she appreciated that, and we've become good friends as a result of that. She'll be going back to Thailand as soon as all of this transpires with her children and after they're all settled in. But she appreciated it, and it was just something that I saw that would be of value to her and wanted to help her do it. We've got to be looking at people, I think, that way that says, how could I help this person? How could I support them in what would bring out the best in them? How can I, what do I need to be looking for in this person to be able to consider that they might be able to do much more than what they're doing right now? I mean, this may just be a waitress that serves you at a restaurant. How can you encourage her? How can you find out what's going on in her life that maybe she hasn't thought about how she could progress and move beyond where she is right now? All of that just takes a mindset that people are really important, not just the ones that work for us or in the actual business that we happen to be in, but people, wherever we meet them, whatever they're doing, that we might be able to help them, encourage them, inspire them to do greater things. So people are really important. And so it's just a concept within the building structure, within the idea that we're building something together, within the idea of what it is that we do day in and day out in order to earn a living, in order to pay the bills, that we need to understand is really foundational. I believe it's foundational. Now, this whole idea of building really, for me, became this big question mark. How can I build this business? How can, at the same time, be meeting the needs of a growing family? How could I meet the needs of my wife? How could I serve at the church? How could I help the community that I was in? How could all these things that needed to be done be done? It was somewhat overwhelming at times. I thought, I've got so much to do, and how do I focus on the important things, and how do I get all of this done? And so it was a big question. It was always floating around in my mind because there just was so much to do. And as you're young, that is all what most of you have already experienced. And so you have to learn to focus and to concentrate on what's really, really important to get the job done in order to get the building that you're in the process of building, whatever that might be, done. And so as you're building your life, there are times when you have to focus on different things, and you have to concentrate very precisely on a given matter. Now, sometimes people will ask, when they have so many things to do, and when they have so many responsibilities, well, what's most important? And really, what's most important isn't really the question. And especially if we're thinking about from the vantage point of heading a family or heading a business and being the one in charge, we typically know what it is. We typically know what's really important, what really needs to be done. But sometimes we may just not want to do it. And so we kind of maybe are ignoring it. Maybe it is something that we don't do well. And so we consider ourselves as not the best one to do it. But we probably are the only one that can do it. Let's say your business needs financing. Well, nobody's going to sell that business to someone that might provide the financing, whether it be a banker or whether it be a partner, better than you. You're the one that must do that job. That's the most important thing. That's the thing to focus on at this point in time. This is the thing that you must do. There's nobody else that can do it. And sometimes it's just rolling up your sleeves and doing what you have to do in order to get the job done. It might be that you got flooded and you've got to get in there and get cleaned up. Well, yeah, you're going to have all your other people working with you to do that, but you're going to need to be in there too to make sure it gets done quickly in order that the urgency of the matter is on everyone's mind, because you're the one that drives the whole thing. And so whatever it is that you're building, whatever it is that you're working on, and particularly when it's a business, then you're the driving force. You're the one that's going to make things happen. You're the one that's going to inspire everyone else. And you're going to do that by leading. You're going to be leading and doing what needs to be done. And you're going to be focused on it. You're going to be concentrating on that very thing that needs to be done, and knowing that when you do that, then the end result will be success. You'll get things done. You'll accomplish big ideas. You'll get the project started. You'll process it, and you'll complete it because you're involved in it and because you know what needs to be done, and you do it. We've got to have that kind of a focused activity. We can't sit back and think that maybe because we've got other employees that might be able to do things, that they might be able to do some of the really, really important things. No, it's going to be up to the owner. It's going to be up to the one that has the idea. It's going to be up to the one that really wants to get this project done, to drive it and to make it happen. It's just the way it works. You're not going to be able to delegate that kind of energy, that kind of passion, that kind of motivation. That's all going to be coming from you. You're the one that drives all of that. As we get to talking more about the elements that are in the book, then motivation and passion are two of the big drivers, and we'll talk about that. But for right now, we just really want to grasp this idea that when we are doing things, that's the process of building that we're talking about. And this process of building is the day-to-day stuff of life. It's the things that pay the bills. It's the things that meet the needs of people. It's those things that we must do day in and day out. Sometimes it's drudgery. Sometimes it's exciting. Sometimes it's really, really, really hard work. But those are the things that make up life as we're in the process of building this thing called a life. And so, yes, we've been transformed. Yes, we are now building, and eventually we will be pursuing on this particular channel. But much more to tell you about in the book. But for now, just leave you with that thought, that foundational to any building process is the importance of how people are drawn together and how you can influence them to be a part of the process, and how just valuing people is such an important part of a mindset that operates within the idea that people are really, really important, that no one's below you. No one is really above you. People are people. And oh yeah, we've all got different positions and we've all got different, quote, values and what we can do well and all of that. But the basic person is a person, just like you. And so don't look down on people, and you really don't need to look up to people. We kind of tend to do that, and but the fact is that people are people, that we're all kind of on the same level here. And so when we have that perspective, and we're not looking down, but we're looking to inspire and we're looking to encourage, then we'll have opportunity to do that when you're really looking for it. And then the idea that we must focus on the most important thing to get the job done, and focus all of our energy and all of our activity and all of our thinking and every bit of power and authority and energy that we have to get the job done. This process of building is done that way, and it's an exciting thing. So look forward to seeing you next time.